Before you start,
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
sorry. Do you have it on the right mode?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
That's only that one episode that I put in.
I just have to check. I'm here to remind you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Welcome back to the latest episode of the Key and Mang audio experience. I'm your host, Mang, as always, joined by my fellow co-host, Key. Key, what's good?
What's up, Meg? How you doing?
Can't complain, can't complain. Today we got a special one. We got my boy Kamal, who is about to start PT school in a couple months, but he wanted to hop on the pod, and we got a variety of topics that we're about to hit on today. But Kamal, what's good?
All good. How you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. We kind of just wanted to open it up first and just kind of let you tell your story about how you got to where you're at right now.
Cool. Okay, so it's a long road, but I'll kind of make it a little bit short. I kind of like fell into PT by accident. I would say like almost every major event in my life kind of like led me to PT. I had a cousin. He told me, I think you would be a great physical therapist. So I was just like, it's just a family member just talking, like, what does he know or whatever. So I was like, okay, cool. And then literally after that, like every major event in my life, like led me to physical therapy. Like I got in a car accident, I had to go to physical therapy. My senior year of college, I had an ACL meniscus injury, had to go to physical therapy. So at that point, I just realized like this may be a sign, and he knew what he was talking about. So I was already interested in the field, but I think like that kind of just like led me directly into the field. So obviously started taking the prereqs and all of these different classes that I needed, for PT school. And then finally, after graduating, I took about a year or so off, worked a little bit, applied to PT school. I didn't get in the first time. And then this past year, finally got in. So I actually just made a decision as far as the school. So I'll be going to Walsh University in Ohio. So I will be leaving in about 4 months, and I'm excited.
Can you take us back to your experience as a patient? I know you said you got in a car accident and you had a meniscal injury in college. What was your experience like as a patient, and now being able to see, oh, I'm on my way to becoming a PT. What was that patient experience like for you?
Right. I remember obviously it was from a sports injury, right? So this was my senior year. I was kind of upset because I felt like, my career, my season was probably over at that point. So I remember my attitude going into it was terrible. And now like as a pre-PT, it's like I'm working in the clinic, and I'm seeing different patients, and sometimes I wonder like why is his attitude or her attitude so terrible? But I have to remember like you're seeing patients that are in a different state of mind. Like they're there for something that's probably affected them every day. So like their physical is not right, so their mental is probably not right either. So I remember when I was going to PT as a patient, like my attitude was terrible. I was upset I couldn't play basketball, and I was in pain as well. So it was like, I remember the PT that I was working with, he just kind of like turned my mindset around. He like told me, if you want to get better, you have to change your mindset. You have to like act like you want to be here. You have to actually do the things that I'm telling you to do. You have to actually take the time to like, perform these different exercises. So I remember my mindset changed and my recovery changed. So like as soon as my mindset changed, I remember I started to get better quickly. So just kind of like going into the field now, it's like I'm not a therapist yet, but when I do help out with patients, it's like improve your mindset, improve the way you're thinking, because as the mental turns around in a positive way, so does the physical. So that's just kind of how I look at it right now.
As an aide, and having the opportunity to work closely with patients, do you find that now in your position that you're seeing your therapists talk more about the mental side of things and making sure they're taking care of their lifestyle and doing their exercises outside of the clinic and not just in the clinic? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like, I think as an aide, it's kind of a tricky position because you're at a point where like you don't know as much as like the therapist that you're working under, but also like you're human, like you see certain things. So it's kind of like a fine line of like, do I step up and say something to somebody that knows way more than me? But also, do I like just stay silent the whole time and not speak up when I see something that's wrong? Because as a patient, like a lot of times they're more comfortable speaking to the aide than they are to the therapist. So it's like they're telling me things that they're not telling the therapist. So the therapist could think they're doing perfectly fine, but then they're on the side telling me like things are terrible at home. I just had this happen in my family. So I know like their mental state is not right. So like sometimes I'm like kind of hesitant to like speak up, but at the same time, it's like I can't just stay quiet the whole time. So I know like these therapists aren't really asking about the mental state of their patients when they should be. So that's kind of like something that I look forward to doing when I do become a PT. It's like, you know, we always talk about the holistic approach when really that's not really true. But I feel like if you do look at things from the holistic approach, that recovery does kind of speed up, and as a profession, we all kind of like get better.
Have you ever played devil's advocate at least, or like questioned the therapist you work with and like try to pick their brain about why they aren't asking certain questions? I know it could be hard to be in like a position as an aide and then like ask like a therapist, why didn't you ask that? But have you like had a discussion, like just try to pick their brain about why they aren't asking something?
Yeah, like I do it all the time, and it's like it's a fine line because I don't want to seem like the person that thinks he knows it all. You know what I mean? Because at the in the back of my mind, I know that I don't know nearly like even half of what they know. You know, like I'm not naive to think I know as much as them, but at the same time, I'm like, I think I know this, and they don't think I know certain things. So it's like I do look at things from my point of view, and I also look at it from their point of view. Like, who does this dude think he is speaking up on things, and he hasn't even, you know, had a day of PT school yet. So it's like I kind of like I would say go back and forth and like you said, play devil's advocate. So I do every once in a while kind of ask a question. And I have like, you know, people that I know, like, you know, Casey and Joseph and people like that I ask them questions and I see their answer. And a lot of times I agree with them. And then I'll go ask the PT that I'm working with the same question and they'll give a different answer. And I'm just like, like, I know you're wrong, but I'm not gonna say you're wrong. So I just like kind of ask just to see how they're thinking, how they're doing things. And then like based off of their answers, I'm just like, he doesn't really get it.
I honestly think that comes from like what you're exposed to, like working with Casey and Joseph, and like you're exposed to like a new way of thinking with PT. Like all that stuff is kind of new. And the PTs you're working with, I don't know the PTs you're working with, but I'm pretty
They're
sure like
older,
they probably weren't, they're older, they're not
30
like
years
really
in.
exposed to it. Like this is like a new world. Like
Yeah.
this is like a new world. So that could be the reason. But I think that like as PTs, like you need to be able to take like information from anybody. Like there's a lot of times patients come in our clinic and um, the patients are really close with the people up front, not close, but they are waiting for their appointments. Like they start conversations and the people up front will be like, oh, they just had this happen. So like they might be a little stressed out, like things like, I don't take offense to that. I feel like that should be the norm because you're contributing to the patient's outcomes. Like whether you're at the front desk, whether you're the aide, that all contributes to somebody's outcome. So I don't think it should be taken disrespectfully.
Yeah,
I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
yeah, I don't, I like, in their defense, I don't think well, at least from the outside looking in, it doesn't seem like they think I'm disrespecting them. But I think like I'll never like at this point that I'm at now, I'll never like correct them on like a manipulation or anything like that. Like I won't cross that line at all. But like other things, like you know how you speak to a patient, things like that, like the human side of things, like I think I have that down pretty good. Now it's the other things obviously that you learn in PT school, you know, adjustments and things like that like I'll never cross that line and try to correct them on. But I feel like other things like it's just being a people person, for example, it's like that's a huge part of it. And I feel like at least at this point right now that I'm at, I feel like I can correct them on those things. So like I try to like always obviously be respectful, but at the same time it's like we're all human here. We do make mistakes. So it's like how can we make this, you know, the best experience for the patient? You know what I mean?
Have you always been like that? Had that kind of people person personality, or you feel like you've grown into that as you've gotten older?
I think like that's a great question because it's like people ask the question, are leaders born or are leaders made? You know what I mean? So it's like I never really had a direct answer to that, but I feel like some are born, but at the same time, you can improve on it. You know what I mean? So like as far as your question of being like a people person, I think that that really comes from like playing basketball my whole life. So it's like I was always like, I feel like I was always a leader naturally, but like I had certain coaches that kind of like pushed me in that direction, like speak up, say something, like talk to this person, go see how he's doing, things like that. So it's like when you play a sport, obviously everybody has a collective goal, but at the same time, like coaches that I've had that were great leaders, it was like, you know, you have to approach a teammate or a person from a different point of view. Like you have to get to know them on a personal level. That way, if you know them on a personal level, you'll be able to approach them in a different way that you're trying, you know, like the goal that you're trying to get them to reach. You have to know them personally so you can know how to speak with them. You can know your personnel, things like that. So it's like knowing them as a person first, building that relationship, that friendship, do that first. Because once, like, for example, if we build a great relationship, I can say certain things to you that I can't say to other people. But if it's just like me trying to bark at you, say certain things, you're probably gonna be like, yo, who does this dude think he is? You know what I mean? So it's like build that connection first with the person, and then you'll be able to talk to them like how you really want to talk to them.
And I think that's also how you get outcomes with patients as well. Like, so that's gonna be a good skill to use because there's a lot of patients that come in very like tense and like in their shell on like the first day. And if they were to stay like that throughout the whole rehab process, I don't think their entire outcome would be that great, as opposed to if you build rapport with them, get them to open up, and you like kind of learn their personality, what drives them, things you can say to motivate them. So that is in sports, but it's also in the profession as well. And I feel like that's a lot of things that some PTs lack. Like they don't have like the personal skills to like really relate to people. So that's definitely something that's very intangible, and people need to start developing, whether that's through sports, through their like undergrad jobs, before they start to get into PT school.
Yeah, I think like that's that's like a advantage that I have like going into it. But there's like I know there's so many other things that I still have to learn. But I think that's like an unintentional advantage that I have. It's like you said, like being a people person, knowing how to connect with others. Those are like human skills that, like, to be honest, I'm pretty sure y'all have seen it in y'all like classes. It's like some people can just like answer questions in a book, and after that, like they can't hold a conversation with somebody. It's done with after that. So it's like I feel like I can do that now. It's just like learning all the technical things, learning all the, you know, things in the book, learning how to, you know, take tests and all these other things that obviously is going to be really tough from like that. I know that from like speaking to like people like y'all that are in y'all position, like that's going to be the tough part. But like if I'm, well, when I'm able to get those things down, it's like everything else I think will come kind of natural.
And that's what I agree with that because I feel like if you have the people side of it down, once you're out of the clinic, I think you can kind of get by with not knowing exactly what's going on because you built that relationship. Obviously, you're going to put the work in after you see them to go figure out, all right, what's going on. But it buys you some more time to figure out, all right, am I heading in the right direction? Do I need to research some more things? And I think if you didn't have that people personality and just spouted book talk to them or PT terminology and they have no idea what you're talking about, they're not going to come back because
Yeah.
this is not helping me. I don't understand what you're saying. You can't communicate with me. We're not communicating with each other. Like you're just it's a lost cause. So I think there's a lot of pressure to understand every book diagnosis, but what happens in the real world is not textbook. You know what I mean? It's not doesn't always go according to plan. And if you have the ability to communicate with your people and let them know what you're thinking and what you're going to do and how you're going to track things, I think that builds more buy-in, and you can kind of go back through the books, go back through the research, and see what plan of action you want to take.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because like the position that I'm in now as an aide, like I probably say like half of the patients they don't even know. Like some of them probably think that you're the actual therapist, and like they'll ask me a question and I'll have no idea. I just and then, but like the thing is, like I built that relationship with them already. So it's like I talk to them. Like a lot of times, I'm the first person that they see when they walk in the door. You know, I can like get them started on a bike or get them started on the arm bike or something like that. So like I'm the first person that they see, and like I get them started on their their initial stages of therapy. But then they start asking like the deeper questions, and I'm just like, I don't know the answer to this. But like they feel comfortable with me. So it's like they think like, okay, he's worked with me a lot. Like he knows what he's doing, he knows what he's talking about. So like they'll ask a deeper question that like I don't know yet that I'll eventually learn in PT school. And like I'll be kind of stuck and I'll just kind of like talk my way around it. And then like when they go do something, I'll like run to the therapist, ask the question real quick, and then come back and then give them the answer. So it's like that people person, like being a people person, like you said, it's like that's like really important. So like I'm already seeing that now, like even before I start, like actually getting into the field.
Since we're talking about the intangibles of being like a people person, and you got into PT school your second time around, do you think that, or is there anything that you improved on your application or things that you worked on personally to strengthen your application to get you in the second time that you didn't have the first time?
Yeah, so like I mentioned Joseph and Casey, right? So like the first time I didn't get in, I was like, I asked myself, because like when I was going into it, like applying and everything, I thought I was getting in. Like now looking back on it, like there was no way I was getting in. So like at the time, I thought I was gonna get in, and I was like, oh, it's all good. I'm gonna get in this and that. And then when I didn't, I was like, whoa, like I got rejected from 9 different schools, and they all sent like the same automated email, like, thank you for considering us, blah blah blah, but you didn't get in. So like when that hits you like 9 separate times through email, it's like, man, what am I doing wrong? So I looked back at it like, what am I doing wrong? And I told myself, like, I'm going to do everything I can to get in. So, like, that's when I found them on Instagram and I signed up for their coaching program. So, like, they kind of like literally walked me through everything. So then when they walked me through everything, it was like, oh, that's why I didn't get in. So I got a job, as an aide. So that helped me out a lot because I finally learned, I got the actual experience of working in a clinic. So that was one thing. And then they told me I had to retake classes. Like they're like, these C's that you got, like obviously, like I would see on these different schools websites, like the C is the minimum that you can get. So I was thinking I was cool, but it's like you can't get the minimum. Like that's just like for them to read your application. So like I was like, they were like, oh, you got to retake classes. So like I had to retake 4 classes, and I was just like, man, I really don't want to take these classes. So like y'all already know this, like taking chemistry again and taking physics, it's like, oh my God, like those are like the worst classes ever. So like having to take those again, I was just like, man. But then I told myself, like, okay, if you really want to get in, like you got to do this again. So that was a big thing for me, I think, like taking those classes again. And then just like when I was writing my essays, like I was using my experience from the first time around to kind of like help out on my essays the second time around. So like I wrote like, okay, I applied to these schools the first time and I had no idea of the things that I know now. So like I would write that in my essay, like I know I now have more experience. I've retaken classes. So basically I would tell them like without saying like I'm showing the initiative that I really want to do this. So I guess like when they read these essays and everything, they're like, okay, this dude is serious. So those are just a few of the things that I like did different the second time around that I didn't do the first time when I thought I was all good.
You say that, man, you had something to say? All right. You say that you really want to do this. What draws you to the PT field in 2022?
So like, yeah, so it's like I've looked around at like a lot of other things, and everything I look at, like it just doesn't fit me. Like I'm a real like particular person. Like this like happens with anything, whether it's like a friend of the same sex or opposite sex. It's like as soon as I find like something that's like I really don't like, I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I'm good. So it's like every time I look at a different profession, it's like That's not really me. I'm good. It's like, do I want to be a lawyer? It's like I remember I wanted to be like a sports agent, like a sports agent years ago. And then I heard like I probably had to go to law school. I was like, yep, I'm out. So I was just like, I'm not doing this. So like every time I look at something else, I research it, look it up online, like, okay, what does it take to, get into this profession? I just keep looking and it's like, nope, I'm good. So like everything that I've tried to do, it's come to that point, but for PT school, like it has not come to that point. So it's like the only part that I look at it like the 2.5, 3 years of school, that's gonna be like terrible. I already know it, like going into it. But besides that, it's like obviously every profession has its negatives, but like besides like the schooling part, like there's no like a red flag, as everybody would say.
What are you looking to do with your PT career? It sounds like you do your research, you kind of have an idea what you want to do. What are you looking to do in the PT world?
So I got like, so it's funny that you asked that because somebody just asked me that the other day, and it was like I told them like 5 different things, and they're like, "What do you want to do?" So like right now, it's like I have a bunch of things that I like because the thing is, it's like I know there's so many different avenues that you can go in the profession, which is like one of the biggest like one of the things that attracted me to it. So like first off, it started like, oh, I want to go into sports, and that was like an obvious thing for me with my background. So it was like I want to go into sports. And then I started like it was more of a business approach. So it's like I want to own my own clinic. And then it was like, oh, I can work as a PT, but I can also do other things. So it's like I want to approach it from the sports part. I want to approach it from the business part. Or it's like obviously PT is my main profession, but like I can, go into stocks that I've, recently got into. I can go into all these different things all while still being a PT. So like I wouldn't say I've 100% decided yet, but I just know that like once I get through the schooling part, once I like gather all the information that I need to gather, like there's endless opportunities for me.
That's what I like about the profession, because I'm like it's so flexible, and I'm kind of similar to you also, where I'm like, all right, I know I want to be involved in the hoop game. I know I want to own my own business. I don't. I thought about initially what drew it to me was I wanted to work in the NBA as a PT in the NBA, and then you start listening to other NBA PTs talk, and they're like, we come in at 2 a.m. and then we gotta be ready to go at 8 a.m. and we're on the road all the time. We're away from our families. I was like, that I don't want. I don't want to
Right.
sacrifice that kind of time. So then I was like, what if I want to go the business route and open my own thing? And then just seeing what other people are doing with like not having a business background, but creating their own businesses and creating successful practices and being able to work with the people that they want to work with, but still provide, utilize their PT degree, but also dive into other things like the psychology, the nutrition, and
Mhm.
the mental side. Like you can just go into so many different avenues. And I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is perfect for me.
Yeah, and I remember like with you, I think I like found you on Instagram and like that's why I decided to reach out to you because I was like, I feel like a lot of like the things where at least from the outside looking in, I'm like, he has a lot of the same interests than I do that I do. So it was like looking into the like being a PT for a sports team. I'm like, that'll be really interesting for me. But kind of like you said, it's like a huge commitment, and that kind of like takes away like the freedom part. You know what I mean? Like that kind of takes the freedom part away. So it's like, do I really want to do that? Maybe, but now it's not as high on my list. You know what I mean? So it's like that like if it was a different profession and that was like kind of taken away, it'd be like, oh, I can't be in a profession anymore. But like now that's kind of like lower on the list, but there's still a whole bunch of other things that I can do. So it's like when I realized that, it was like, oh, it's not that that's taken away, but that's like, kind of lower on the list of things that I want to do, but there's still 1,000 other things. So it's just like the flexibility, the endless opportunities, they're just all still there.
Are there any things that you want to get started on while you're in school?
Yeah, I think like for me, like right now, like I mentioned a couple minutes ago, it's like like my mind is just everywhere, like just wanting to do everything. So like I have to like really focus in, at least at the beginning, on like one thing that I want to do. So I would say like right now, looking at it right now with the way I'm looking at things, it's like, how can I, like, I still want to have my fun and everything over the summer before I start, but like how can I like best prepare myself, for PT school? Like obviously like there's no 100% way to prepare yourself. I know that just from like speaking to different people, like when you start, it's still going to feel like super overwhelming, but like how can I at least right now prepare myself for PT school? So that's kind of like what I'm focused on now. But like while I'm in school, at least like kind of get like my schedule down, get my routine down and everything. And then after that, I'm thinking of like, how can like I build connections with like people like you guys that like by that time you guys would be like 2, 3 years in. You know what I mean? So it's like you guys are like both of y'all are first year, right? Like out of school. Yeah. So like by the time I'm in like my second, third year, y'all will be in year 3, 4, 5, stuff like that. So it's like I plan on like reaching out to other people that are already in the profession, building those connections, which I've already kind of started doing with a few different PTs. It's like building those connections to the point where it's like, if I want to like partner with y'all, what I'm saying, like opening a clinic, maybe we can do that. Or if I want to like, hey, where would be a great place for me to like, do a clinical at? I'll have people I can reach out to. So it's like kind of like that stage of like building connections. So that way, like as soon as I finish I'm able to practice, I'm like jumping out the gate, like boom, I already have a plan. Whereas like a lot of my classmates, I'm pretty sure it'll be like, oh, let me take the NPTE, and then oh, let me apply to these different jobs and hopefully somebody accept me. I want to be like, oh, I'm already up here. So as soon as I graduate, it's just picking where I want to go. You know what I mean?
Nah, I definitely agree with that. That's how kind of how I got through PT school. Like, not gonna lie, I didn't do the bare minimum, but I just wanted to pass my classes and I wanted to be well connected in the PT field so that I don't gotta worry about these grades. I just gotta pass the NPT and I'm gonna make it happen by who I know. Like nobody gonna be asking me my GPA, none of that. So I think being well connected is gonna get you more places than like you trying to stay up to 4 a.m. trying to get 100 on the test.
Right.
So you're already ahead of the game, and I think more people should worry about being well connected. And it's also not about who you know, like who knows you. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So people need
Uh-huh.
to worry about that.
Yeah. I think like you said that, and I've obviously like tried to like start that right now, even before I like get in school. So it's like I notice like the way that I'm thinking of things are already like different from others. Like obviously like we like people that are in my position, we haven't like taken any other classes yet. We haven't even actually started school, but like just kind of how we mentioned earlier, the mindset, the mental part, it's like the way that I'm looking at things, it's like people aren't really looking at things like that. So like I live not too far from Casey, the clinic that he works at. Like it's literally like 5 minutes away from where I live from. So I actually wanted to go meet up. Like we talk all the time, through Instagram and things like that. But like I'm like, yo, I live 5 minutes away from you. So I gotta actually meet him in person. So a few weeks ago, I met him in person. Like we just like it was literally a work day. His work day was just like super chill. And I just basically just chilled with him for like almost a whole day. So like I was basically kind of like a shadow. I sat right there while he saw patients, or if he had an hour where he didn't do anything, we just sat in the back and we just talked about like my goals and things that I want to do. And I remember he told me like live below your means, increase your income, and then make your money work for you. So like I've already started those things, and like I'm starting a new job on Monday. So it's like, even as an aide, I'm still trying to increase my income. I have other people that like worked in the same company as me, and they're like, we're not supposed to get paid much. This position is only about the experience, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, do you see how much work we do? Like, I'm seeing like in a regular day, I'm seeing double-digit patients as an aide. And I know how much money I'm bringing into this company. And you tell me like I should still be basically getting minimum wage. I'm like, nah, I'm gonna go out there and search for a higher income. And I literally did that. And she's still gonna be working at the same place, getting like $13 an hour, and let's just say I'm gonna have like a 40% increase in pay starting next week. And that's us. That's just all from like talking to the right people. You know what I mean? So that's just an example right there. Like you said, like knowing the right people and the right people knowing you.
Nah, I feel that, and get used to that, because NPTs, they feel like we not supposed to get paid because we're doing this to help people. Nah, that's BS, to be honest. We want to get paid, and it's not unreasonable for us to want to get paid. Like, we're valuable. We know our value. And I feel like if somebody's not paying you what you feel like you're worth, if they want to keep you, they either gotta come up with the money, give you some incentive to stay, or you could find somewhere else, like you did. I did the same thing out of school. Like 4 months in, I found a job that was paying me like 30% more. I left. Like, it wasn't even a question about the experience. I gotta make stuff happen for my life. Like, so
Right.
definitely feel that. Get used to that, because you're definitely gonna see other PTs telling you you're not doing it for the money and all this other BS that doesn't make any sense. Do what makes you happy, and it's gonna help you like chase your other goals. So there's more to life outside of PT.
Facts.
We're talking about money a little bit. I know it's super exciting when you get that first acceptance and then you get more and you're trying to decide, all right, where am I going to go? But then you look at the price tag of what it costs to attend school, and you see it's a couple hundred G's, depending on if you're in state, out of state. How are you trying to attack? Are you worried about that debt that you're about to accrue? And how are you trying to combat minimizing the amount of debt that you're about to have while you're in school and after school is done?
Right. So if I said like I wasn't worried about it at all, I would be lying. But like I think like the advantage of like knowing, like the advantage of like knowing that, you know, money is a taboo subject, it's like, okay, I know this ahead of time. So like how can I, as best as possible, make that like minimize that? You know what I mean? So like you're not gonna like get rid of it, but it's like how can I minimize it? So like for me, I had like the clinic that I was just working at, I had one PT, like she wasn't directly talking to me, but she was talking to somebody else. And I heard her like, she was like, if I could do it all over again, I would not have been a PT. Basically, like, because she had so much debt, blah, blah, blah. And I heard that. And I was like, okay. I asked her, I heard her say that, but I acted like I didn't hear her. And I asked her, like, what school did you go to? She told me this school, right? And I went to go look it up. And I'm like, yo, their tuition is like, it's like one of the highest in the country. And I just thought that I just thought to myself, I was like, hold on. So if she picked a different school, like her debt would be way less, right? Like obviously you're not gonna get rid of debt, but like if she just picked a different school, she could have probably like saved $50,000. So I was like, yeah, debt is like probably inevitable, but it's like there's things that you can do to like kind of minimize it. So for me right now, when I was looking for different schools, I told myself like I'm not applying to any school that's over $110,000. And like obviously that cuts down your options a lot because we do know like a lot of these schools are super expensive. But for me, that was like one of the priorities. That was like at the top of the list, cost of school. So it was like, yeah, I wanted to go to like I'm not gonna say the school, I wanted to go to this certain school. But I looked at the tuition, I was like, ain't no way I'm going there. So like my school search list that I came down to, it was like cost. And then after that, it was like location, because I was like, I can't see myself living in XYZ state. So it was like cost, location, and things like that. So like the schools that I applied to are like low when you compare it to other schools. Obviously, they're all very expensive, but like they're lower in terms of tuition. So I did that. The schools that I ended up choosing, it's under 100,000. So that's another thing. And then it's like the past year that I've been working as an aide, like every time I get paid, I'm saving a certain amount of every time I get paid. So it's like trying to save up as much as possible before I start. So that way it's like, yeah, you're still gonna have some debt, but how do I minimize that as much as possible?
I like that. And I think being a part of the acceptance system and like being a part of Joseph Casey's world, and they kind of lay that all out for you too. And so coming in before you even apply, what you're looking for, what your non-negotiables are, and what is going to be filtered out if they don't hit your non-negotiables.
Yep.
And like, I know for me, I found Greg Todd and I took his course before I found Joseph and Casey. So I was a PPT in Greg Todd's course, and he was like talking about how to make money as a clinic owner. And I was like, well, I know that's where I want to be. So let me just take his course. And that's why I was like, now you understand about the online game and trying to get in that and how you can have your money work for you while you're not actually working. And that's why I'm not really, I don't know if I don't really be tripping about my loans because I'm like, I know ways that I can help raise my income to help supplement the life I want to live, but also put a dent in these loans as well. So I'm not really too concerned about it.
Right. I wanted to ask both of you guys that. Like, I know y'all are asking me the questions, but I just wanted to know, like, what are y'all thoughts when it comes to that?
When it comes to loans, I'm in a lot of debt, but I'm not really tripping about my loans either because one, I'm not paying nothing more than the minimum until I can invest enough money to allow that to fund another stream of income, then pay. So I plan on paying, but not right away, I guess. And then also, I don't feel like I have a ceiling cap on my income. I feel like a lot of PTs feel like they hit the ceiling already. I feel like I'm already at the ceiling unless I want to be like a director or something, which I don't. So I know I have the ability to increase my income. So I'm not really tripping about that. It's just a matter of when it's gonna happen. Because I've been putting in the work. It's just a matter of when. So I'm not really tripping. Those loans are gonna be there for like, if I pay the minimum, it's like 20 years. But I'm not tripping about it because I know I'm putting in the work. It's just a matter of when it's gonna happen, not if it's gonna happen.
Yeah, and for me, I think it's kind of a similar situation as Key. I feel like what I use my loan money to try and learn more skills that will help me make more money in the long term. And so then I'm like, if that can give me that might be a certain amount of money you got to spend on a course now, but in the future, if it 10x my revenue, then I'm not mad at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I'm already like 100K plus in debt. So what's another like 3K spend on the course gonna do? That's how I see it. So yeah, really just investing in like my education outside of PT because I know that's what's gonna really accelerate my income. It's not gonna be my PT skills. It's gonna be the other skills I learned outside of PT. So that's what I'm really focused on. Yes, I want to deliver the best outcomes to my patients, but I also want to live the life I want to live. So it's going to take me learning some stuff outside of my profession.
Yeah, I think like, so I've listened like all y'all other podcasts already, and I think I heard you mention something like that. So it's like, yeah, like PT is my profession, but like I'm trying to do like a whole bunch of other things where it's like this is not my only stream of income. So a lot of times, well, most of the PTs that I know, at least the ones that I've like worked with or shadowed and things like that, are part of the reason why they're like always unhappy because it's like all their time and all their like money is coming just from this specific job. So it's like I'm here 40 hours a week. I'm not making money any other way. So it's like if I have a bad day at work, it's like, yo, my whole day, my whole week is just done. Whereas like somebody like you, Key, it's like if I'm making money from this other place, it's like, okay, I can have a bad day at work because it's still money coming in from somewhere else. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's like one of the things that I want to do eventually to where it's like, yeah, this is like my main gig, but at the same time, it's like money coming in from everywhere else.
No, definitely. And I think that kind of shows it how you treat patients. I don't know if it's just me, if I'm just like a really like chill person at work, but I be at work and patients be like, how are you so patient? Like, how are you so calm? I'm like, because when I leave here, none of this stuff comes with me. Like, nothing comes with me. Yes, I'm gonna get you better, but I promise you, like, none of your problems is coming with me because I got other things I'm working towards. So
Right.
Can you kind of talk about your mindset now as you're about to be, we've kind of talked about it, like how you're trying to make more money and trying to save up more, but what you think about now versus when you're in school, how that's going to, how you're trying to like make sure your mindset stays on point, because you're going to have a lot of other things coming at you, a lot more material, a lot, your classmates are going to be, you're going to be meeting new people, working with new people. How you're going to try and keep your mindset on point while you're in school and in a new environment.
Yeah, so I think like right now I look at this stage like the preparation stage. You know what I mean? Because it's like I don't know exactly what I'm getting into, but I know it's tough. And I know that because like literally every single person that's in PT school or going through it, like nobody tells me like, oh, it's easy. Like you got this. Everybody's telling me like, yeah, like if you know what I mean? Like if you have a plan and things like that, like you'll make it through, but it is tough. So for me, it's like, this is the preparation stage. So it's like, I'm just trying to prepare myself as best as possible. So that way, like when I actually get in, it's like a lot of the things that I'm preparing for, I'm actually implementing those things. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, different ideas right now, like how to make money. When I actually get in school and I actually have a routine down, scheduling routine and stuff like that, okay, now it's time to actually start making that money, things like that. So it's like preparing now. So that way, once I have like my daily schedule down, my routines down and things like that, it's like making money those different ways, building those connections. Because like at least like now it's like when you reach out to like certain PTs and things like that, when they see that you're not even in PT school yet, they kind of just brush you off. So like I'll reach out to somebody and they'll be like, oh, I'm starting PT school. They'll be like, oh, where do you go? And I'll be like, oh, I'm starting in a few months. And they'll be like, oh, okay. Like they won't say it, but it's kind of like, man, this dude, they need to start school yet. Like, what does he want? So like I know like when you're at least in school, they'll like probably look at you different. And it's like, okay, those connections or those people that I've reached out to when I'm actually in school and like almost graduating and things like that, okay, they'll take me more serious. So like, you know, like I said, making money those different ways, I'll be able to start doing that. Those connections, I'll actually be able to start doing that. So like I said, this is just like the preparation stage, really.
This next question, I'm kind of just curious. Are there things you're worried about once you start school? Like, I know every you got people that you talk to and ask advice for, but are there things you're personally worried about once you start?
Yeah, the work. So like I said, like I think everybody has told me like you're gonna have to like change the way that you like study from like undergrad to like actual PT school. So it's like I've heard different ideas and I have like different plans in my head of like how I'm gonna change things, but like some things you don't actually know until you actually get in it. So it's like I have an idea in my head of like how I want to study or different, you know, study techniques and things like that. But like when that like professor actually hits you with that amount of work that you're gonna have to do, it's like I'm asking myself now, like, how am I gonna react to that? You know what I mean? Like when I look at it and it's like you have 4 quizzes tomorrow and then a test the next day, like what am I actually gonna do then? Because now it's cool looking at it like, oh, I'm gonna prepare, do this, do that. But like when that actually hits you, I don't know. So I think it's like the question that you kind of asked me is like it's going to be interesting to see how I react to it. You know what I mean? So like that's one of the things that I'm worried about, you know, like the workload and things like that. Um, but I think besides like the actual like workload is like quizzes and tests and things like that, making sure I pass those, I don't know, maybe it's something that I'm not thinking of that y'all could tell me, but I don't really have like any worries outside of that. Like as far as like moving away from home, things like that, I've done it. You know what I mean? Like I've been in like different states for school. So like moving away, I'll be fine adjusting to things like that. Missing family, like I missed them before. Like it's okay if I miss them again. Like things like that. Like I'll be fine. It's just like the workload, just getting through that. Besides that, I can't really, you know, I'm not really too worried about anything else.
I think it's good that you're going into PT school with like a flexible mindset because I think studying for PT school, like there's no one way to study. I feel like you kind of learn that based off of one, your curriculum, and two, how you study, because there's a lot of like programs teach things different ways depending on how they have it set up and also how your own brain works. So just like going into that first semester, like trying your best and doing what you're used to doing and you feel comfortable doing with that information. And then based on how you do, you kind of like revamp it, make adjustments. And I feel like, at least with me, like after the first year, I kind of had a good like handle on like how to study and how to approach things. So as long as you're flexible and willing to make changes and you're not like rigid in like your own study style from undergrad, I think like you'll be good. It's just a matter of getting through those courses and putting in a long hour to study it. But once you get a handle of it, it's not too bad. It's manageable.
And you can also like try and connect, like if it's like neuro or cardio form, connect it to things that you enjoy. Like I think for neuro, we had like we had an extra credit project, and I connected it to basketball. It was like about the pain tracks and like what happens when someone gets injured and what's going on in their brain. I don't like neuro is not my I'm not really the biggest fan of it, but I understand it's a primer for like all movement. And so I was like, let me relate this to something that I enjoy. And that helped make me kind of sticks better in my head because I enjoy whatever I made that project to. So I made it a whole Instagram video and put it on the Hoop Lab. And so I used it as educational content for the Hoop Lab and as an extra credit assignment. And my teacher was like, "This is great." And I was like, "Well, I did this a long time ago." So it was double dipping in the points, but that really helped me get those kind of tracks down. And I think it made it fun because I'm related to something that I enjoy.
And you also remember things better. Like I feel like in school, like they just want you to like put it on the flashcard or put it in a Quizlet and just memorize it. But it has to have some type of context in order for me to actually wrap my mind around it. So like Mang said, like put it into something that is meaningful to you. That'll help you learn it, but it'll also help you remember it and it'll help you explain it to somebody else, especially going to be working in sports. If it's something you enjoy, I'm pretty sure you can be working with the type of people that do the things that you enjoy. So that'll even increase like your buy-in with them down the line. So looking long term with like what these assignments mean, they might seem dumb when you're doing them at PT school, but if you can tie it to something that you're interested in, you can utilize that to, for one, like your own content, or two, like trying to increase like your clients or like patients buy-in with you because of the work you put in while in PT school.
Yeah,
so it's gonna come full circle.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that because I think for me, like undergrad was always like easy for me, but I just remember kind of like how you said, like I used to always look at like different projects and things like that. It would be like tougher than it should be because it's like, how does this relate to anything? Like, why is this going to be important to what I want to do? And I always had a hard time like finding that connection because like in PT school, it'll probably be easier because it's like directed into the field that you're going to. But like in undergrad, you're just taking like all these random classes, and it was just always like, I'm not going to need this in 2 months. So like, how does this keep my interest? You know what I mean? So it's like, as long as I'm able to like relate it to something that I like or something that I like to do, it's always easier for me. So I'm glad that you said that, and that's definitely something that I'll try to do when I start school.
What do you think about the profession, the future of the profession? What do you think it's going to turn into? Like when you come out of school, like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what do you think it's going to turn into?
So I think it's actually it's looking better because like I would say now, if I just like solely base the profession off of like things that I see online or like the older PTs that I've worked with or worked around, it's like, nah, it ain't looking too good. Cause like I think like there's just always this negative, it's like always negative self-talk that I see. Like a lot of things that I see on Instagram, it's just all negative, negative, negative. So it's like it's kind of refreshing like talking to people like you guys, because it's like you guys have like different ways that you guys want to do things. You guys have different ideas and different strategies of how you guys are going to approach things, especially like being like first year or whatever out of school. It's like you guys are like looking at this profession in a different way, while it's like older PTs and people that have been in the field for years, it's just all negative. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, if I wasn't like committed to this, like dedicated into going into this and like a weak-minded person, I probably would have like like left the profession already. Cause like everything you just see is just like, man, why would I even want to do this when all the people that are in this sound like they don't like what they're doing? You know what I mean? So it's like I I like that, like, I'm talking to people like you guys now. and like younger people that are like, have a different mindset, because it's just like, okay, if everybody just hates it, why is everybody doing this?
I definitely agree. It's like a lot of negative self-talk, but I'm glad you included the word self, because that only reflects the people that be saying stuff like that. It's all over social media, but I do think if you like get in the right ecosystem, you can like make a lot of progress and make an impact on the field. You got to kind of tune out the people that are talking negatively, because I think it only reflects either things that they feel like they can't do or things that they wanted to do and they got old. I guess they had kids and didn't make it happen and then telling you can't do it. But that had nothing to do with you. So
Yeah.
just surround yourself with the right people and like get to work, honestly. I have one last question for you. We kind of talked about it before, but if you had 2 to 3 things you would tell somebody applying to PT school, whether it's their first time or second time, what would you tell them to focus on besides like their GPA or like prerequisites, things like that?
Yeah. I think like one of the things that I was told that I didn't really understand at the time, but I get now, is like only apply to schools that you think fit you. So like that was a big thing for me. Like I was just literally the first time around just applying because like I just like the idea of the school, or like I knew somebody that went there, or whatever the case may be. So it was like I was told to like apply to somewhere that fits you, but I had no idea what it meant. So when I started looking like the second time around, it was like, okay, from undergrad, I went to a few different schools, right? So it was like the different schools that you went to. I went to a bigger school, I went to a smaller school. Like, which kind of school did you learn better in? You know what I mean? Like, what type of learning environment was more beneficial for you? And I found like, okay, I learned better in a smaller environment. So like class size of like 30 as opposed to class size of like 200. You know what I mean? So like the second time that I applied, it was like, okay, the school that I ended up choosing, it's a smaller school. So it's like, that's better for my learning. So that's an example of a school that fits you. So I would say that's one thing, a school that fits you, that's like really important, because, from what I've been told, like things are going to get tough. Things are going to like you're going to have to, basically pick somewhere that fits you. So that's one thing. And then after that, this is like something that like I haven't seen yet, but it's like just kind of like have a open mind. So it's like when you do pick a school, or you are researching schools, it's like, oh, this school says you have to have this GRE score, or this school says you have to have this GPA. The school that I got into, I didn't have like the GPA or the GRE that they listed like on their website, and I still got in. But if I was just like reading these websites and things like that, I would have thought like, oh, don't apply there because I don't even have what they're asking for. But it's like, no, apply there, work hard on your essays and things like that. And when they interview you, show who you are as a person. You know what I mean? Like be a people person, kind of like how we've said several times this whole podcast. It's like be a people person, learn how to talk to the people that are interviewing you. And like I said, the school that I got into, I didn't have the GPA or GRE, but I guess from well, what I'm guessing is they liked something. So like maybe my interviews were great, maybe my essays were great. So it's like be open-minded, not just like closed-minded to like what they require, but it's like pick somewhere that you feel like fits you. And then when it's time to show you, show who you actually are.
I like those, definitely. I'm just tired of seeing like just a regular, oh, get your prereqs, have this GPA. Like not everybody has a 3.8 GPA
Yeah.
going into PT school. And I don't think that you should actually have one. I think you should have other things that you focus on. But that's a story for another time. Mang, anything else you want to mention? Anything else you want to ask?
Nah, no, Kamal, appreciate you coming on the pod. I think you dropped gems for everyone who's going to listen to this. And I think even though you were pre-PT and about to start school in a couple months, I think people who are 10 years in the game versus not even knowing PT is a profession, they can take things from this episode and apply it to their life right now to make meaningful changes. So appreciate you for coming on. Where can people find you on social if they have other questions that they want to ask?
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me. When I found out you were doing a podcast, I was like, I definitely wanted to get on there because there's like questions that I want to ask y'all, and I want to just like be around and speak to people that are like where I'm trying to get to. So thanks for that. And then also on my Instagram, I'm actually not on right now, but I'll be on. I just got off for a little bit, but I'll be back on pretty soon. So it's my first name, Kamal underscore Shasi 23. That is my Instagram. That's like pretty much like the main social media that I'm on. And people like, there's like people that reach out all the time. And I also reach out to a lot of other people. So people reach out to me, I always answer and give my advice and also, ask questions that I got.
Love it. And if there's any other questions that you have and you want to reach out to us, we're always open. Like the invitation is always open. So if there's anything, whether it's tomorrow, later today, or when you're in school, we're always open to be able to help out however we can. So just wanted to put that out there right now before we finish up here. Key, anything else you want to add?
I just want to say this was a great episode, and definitely would like to have you back on when you start PT school and after like you graduate.
I think that'll be super interesting to see later on when I'm in school. Like, hopefully the things I'm saying now are the same then. So thank you guys.
It don't have to be the same though. There's a lot of things I said in the past that I had to go back on. So it's totally fine. It's actually cool to see that.
Yeah,
So,
perfect.
yeah, definitely looking forward to that, and good luck.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, no problem.
We'll catch you on the next episode of the Key and Mang Audio and Spirits. Peace.